But actually, I forgot to tell you, we were talking about like our first week, what people had to say. Well, the WNBA fined me for
No! You got fined for episode 1?
Dude, they fined me $1,500. I'm like, what? I'm like, this is just the beginning. I was like, you're kidding.
Every time Sophie Cunningham dares to speak the unfiltered truth about the WNBA, her GM's inbox lights up with that dreaded subject line. Another fine, another penalty. Another slap on the wrist for refusing to play nice. And this time, they didn't just double down.
They fined her. Again. Sophie Cunningham has now been fined 4 times this season? She's had 4 separate fines this season. And she got fined for comments on a podcast episode about referees. And it wasn't even like it was that bad.
The voices are growing louder. The frustration is boiling over. And the once unthinkable is now being shouted across social media and sports forums alike. Sophie Cunningham's fans have had it. They're done with the muzzle, done with the fines. And they're making it clear, as Dave, they want her to walk away from the WNBA if that's what it takes, and let the truth fly no matter how many penalties Commissioner Kathy Engelbert tries to throw in her path.
Man, leave Sophie Cunningham alone, Kathy Engelbert. Don't nobody care about that corrupted WNBA and those corrupted referees. Y'all want to fine her $500. Why? Because y'all feeling some type of way because you, as the commissioner, not doing your job for that bum league. You hear me? At the end of the day, y'all have so many injuries. It's crazy. Y'all have over 150 injuries this year recorded. That's insane. Something not right.
What began as a simple podcast debut has exploded into something far bigger. Sophie Cunningham launched Show Me Something with the volume, Colin Cowherd's media empire, and just days after the first episode went live, the hammer came down. $1,500 fine. Not $500, not a token slap on the wrist. $1,500 for daring to say the obvious. WNBA referees are human. They make mistakes, and lately, they've been making far too many.
If they didn't like you then, they sure aren't going to like you now. Sophie Cunningham has been making waves with the new podcast that she is now featured in, courtesy of the volume. Sophie Cunningham letting it all out and not holding back one.
If you're enjoying this, make sure to subscribe, because what went down here is the kind of thing that will make your blood boil. Sophie Cunningham sat down on her podcast and did something almost unheard of in today's WNBA. She told the truth, she said, and I quote, "Asterisk, if I was a ref, I know I would mess up all the time. Like, I'm not saying that your job is easy, but when it's a simple call right in front of your face multiple times, what are you doing?" She gave them credit. She admitted the job is hard. She even said she wouldn't be good at it herself.
And she pulls me aside and she goes, "Come here, Soph, I have to talk to you." And this was in like front of everybody. And I was like, "What did I do now?" And she just smiled and she goes, "Hey, they're going to fine you again." They're like, I was like, I even told them, I even credited them that their job was hard. I did say that. And I said that I would not be good at it.
But then she had the audacity to say what everyone's been thinking: the refs are inconsistent. Asterisk, if you're on the other team and you're going to foul me, cool, but let me do it to you. Asterisk, she said. And that, apparently, was enough too. Cost her $1,500. Not for cussing out officials, not for personal attacks, not for crossing any line of professionalism. No, she was fined for voicing what every fan, player, coach, and analyst has been saying all season. The officiating is inconsistent.
In the world of what they dealing with. So you telling me if I'm getting bullied, I can't make a video about it? You gonna punish me because I'm letting everybody know and the whole world know what's going on with me and that I'm crying out for help? So you gonna make me the bad guy?
This woman went out of her way to be fair, acknowledged how hard officiating is, gave the refs the benefit of the doubt, and still got slapped with a $1,500 fine for telling the truth. On her podcast, Sophie shared asterisk everyone in my locker room. They're like, oh God, what is she going to say next? Asterisk, even her own teammates are tiptoeing around her, afraid that just being in the same conversation might get them fined too. That reaction alone tells you everything about how absurd this has gotten. And here's the kicker. This wasn't Sophie's first run-in with the WNBA's Fine machine.
Is it uncommon for coaches or players to get fined in a professional league when talking about officiating? No, that's not uncommon. However, when your league is looking worse than the NFL on officiating, you know what you might ought to do? Sit down in the corner and shut the bleep up. And maybe you ought not be fining your players over it, because your officiating is dog shit.
She'd already been slapped with a $500 fine over a TikTok, where she lip-synced to Sabrina Carpenter's Manchild, a clip that went viral with over 1.3 million views. Sophie's response to that penalty summed her up perfectly. Asterisk, IDKY. This is funny to me. Like, okay, you got it, bud. Because there's not more important things to be worried about with our league right now. Asterisk, and that was just the warm-up. She was later fined $900 for defending Caitlin Clark during the infamous Connecticut Sun Brawl. When J.C. Sheldon poked Clark in the eye and Marina Mabry shoved her to the floor, Sophie stepped in and leveled Sheldon with a hard foul that sent a crystal-clear message. Mess with our star, deal with the consequences. For standing up against blatant targeting of her teammate, she got hit with nearly a $1,000 penalty.
It wasn't that long ago that Sophie Cunningham made this little TikTok video. And in said TikTok video, and you can see right here, this was July 23rd, she put this up and said she got fined $500 by the WNBA for criticizing the refs.
Let's break down the numbers, because they're downright staggering. This season alone, Sophie Cunningham has been fined at least $2,900 across these documented incidents. $500 for the TikTok, $900 for defending Caitlin Clark, and $1,500 for her podcast comments. That's nearly $3,000 for telling the truth, standing up for a teammate, and daring to have an opinion about officiating. To put it in perspective, rookie-scale WNBA salaries start around $60,000. For someone on that pay scale, those fines aren't pocket change, they're a serious hit. But here's the delicious irony that Kathy Engelbert and her front office enforcers completely missed. Every single fine has only made Sophie Cunningham more influential. After the Connecticut Sun incident, her social media following skyrocketed from about 350,000 to over 1.6 million overnight. The $500 TikTok fine, it fueled millions of views and engagement across platforms.
After 6 years of anonymity, Sophie Cunningham has suddenly become a superstar this season. Why? How did she accomplish the previously unachievable? How did she become a star in a league that seems to be allergic to star power? To her credit, Sophie Cunningham used her brain. She noticed that the path to stardom had already been cleared for her. She emulated the strategy that was utilized by Draymond Green.
Sophie herself called out the absurdity on her podcast. Asterisk, 95% of the population who watches the WNBA agrees with me, and she's right. Every metric, every fan poll, every social media thread backs her up. WNBA officiating has been a disaster. Players have been saying it for months. Angel Reese bluntly declared the officiating has to be fixed and didn't care if she got fined. Chicago Sky's Elizabeth Williams slammed the league's handling of situations as really immature. Coaches like Stephanie White, Becky Hammon, and Natasha Howard have all spoken up about officiating and taken their fines. Even Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has had to acknowledge the problem, saying, asterisk, we hear the concerns. We take that input. Every play is reviewed. Consistency is important. There's an independent evaluation of our officials. There are ramifications. So, it's something we need to continue to work on. Asterisk, so if the commissioner herself admits consistency is an issue and it's being addressed, How on earth is Sophie Cunningham wrong for saying the exact same thing? The truth is, this targeting of Sophie goes beyond Finezits about silencing one of the most authentic voices in women's basketball. When she stepped in during that Connecticut Sun melee, it wasn't just about protecting Caitlin Clark. It was about standing up against a culture where jealousy and resentment turn into physical targeting. Sophie's been the only player willing to say it out loud. Caitlin Clark is being systematically targeted by players who resent her success, and the officials are letting it slide.
But, I mean, here's the thing. Are the WNBA referees just kind of bad, especially this season? Yeah, they are. And I think they're just bad all around. You know, it's not even just like one player or one team or anything else like that. Like, they're just overall, like, really bad. But here's the thing, right? Here's what I think, and this is not just pertaining to the WNBA, but just any sports league that has some sort of referee or just some sort of refereeing official. I think after every game, there should be a post-game conference for the referees, just like how there are for the players. And like I said, not even just in the WNBA, but in all sports leagues, because some of the calls that are made, I genuinely look and I'm wondering if I'm watching the same game as the ref.
Sophie's account of her former team's mindset says it all about the toxic culture at play. Asterisk, I know the talks Phoenix had in their locker room. Like, we're going to show her what the W really is. I get it to a certain extent. Every rookie gets that treatment. But with her, it was more, it's her second year now. Being on her team and seeing it, I'm like, what are people doing? It's just too much. Asterisk, and that's what makes Sophie's situation even more infuriating, the league's treatment of her versus the players actually causing problems. She's fined $1,500 for pointing out officiating inconsistencies on her podcast, while players who deliberately target and endanger opponents get little more than a slap on the wrist. Marina Mabrey, who blindsided Caitlin Clark with a cheap shot that could have caused serious injury, was initially hit with just a technical foul, and only saw it upgraded to a flagrant after a public backlash. The message from Cathy Engel: WNBA couldn't be clearer. Speak the truth about our failures, and we'll drain your bank account. Actually harm players on the court? We'll barely blink.
You have seen players in our league try to like toughen up Caitlin. I know the talks that Phoenix had in the locker room of like, no, we're going to prove her, we're going to show her what the W really is. I'm like, what are people doing? It's just too much.
Finally, someone who gets it. Finally, someone in the WNBA who understands this thing called business.
But Sophie Cunningham isn't rattled by their intimidation tactics. She's already proven that authenticity beats political correctness every single time. When she called Caitlin Clark's critics dumb, it wasn't crudeness, it was math, every attendance figure, TV rating, merchandise sale. And social media stat proves Clark is the undisputed face of the WNBA. Anyone claiming otherwise is either lying or living in denial. Sophie even put Clark's fame into perspective perfectly. Asterisk, it is a cult following. I'm not kidding. Think of the most famous person you know or have met, then multiply it by 10, 20. It's insane. She recalled seeing Travis Kelce and other A-list celebrities flying to Iowa City just to watch Clark play college ball. That's mainstream superstardom and a level no WNBA player has ever reached, and Sophie is the only one bold enough to say it out loud. The financial side of her fines just shows how wildly out of touch WNBA leadership really is. Compare Sophie's WNBA salary to what the average NBA player earns, and her $1,500 fine is the equivalent of slapping an NBA star with a $200,000 penalty. In the entire history of the NBA, there have been only a handful of fines that steep-hand. None have been for anything remotely close to what Sophie did. It's absurd beyond belief.
She calls out the people out there who refuse to say Caitlin Clark is the face of the league. People who would rather say this person and that person. What about her? What about her? No, there is only one face of the WNBA. There's only one person that has casuals sitting down in front of a TV, glued to their sofa, watching the WNBA. Sophie Cunningham.
Even more telling than the fines themselves is how Sophie's teammates react to them. When news of the $1,500 penalty hit, nobody was shocked, but they were scared. They know that in Cathy Engelbert's WNBA, honesty is punished and authenticity is a liability. When professional athletes are afraid to speak openly about their own workplace conditions, it's a flashing red siren about the toxic culture at the top of this league. Sophie's rise proves exactly what fans are craving: authentic voices in women's basketball. Her podcast with the volume isn't just entertainment, it's become must-listen content for anyone who wants the unfiltered truth about what's really happening in the WNBA. While other players tiptoe around their words to avoid offending league officials, Sophie has built a growing media brand by refusing to play that game. She gets fined for telling the truth about officiating even, while acknowledging how hard the job is, while Cathy Engelbert cashes a commissioner's salary overseeing a league where the biggest star is openly targeted. Attendance lives and dies by one player, and the officiating is so poor that even the commissioner admits it needs fixing.
Now, the thing about this is, now that Sophie is bringing it up, now ESPN is falling by the wayside of her and actually agreeing that there's some extra sauce going on when it comes to Caitlin Clark getting fouled, getting bullied a little bit, poked in the eye, all that stuff, man. So let's get to that. Why would you want to hurt what everybody is watching? That doesn't make sense. All right.
Sophie's evolution from role player to media powerhouse happened because she grasped something. Cathy Engelbert and her front office loyalists never have fans don't want corporate fluff or sanitized sound bites. They want honesty. They want authenticity. They want someone bold enough to point out the emperor has no clothes, even if it comes with a price tag. And every fine has blown up in the WNBA's face. The $500 TikTok fine turned Sophie into a viral sensation. The $900 Connecticut Sun fine made her a folk hero among Caitlin Clark fans. And now, the $1,500 podcast fine has cemented her as one of the most important voices in sports media. At this point, Cathy Engelbert should be cutting Sophie a check, not writing her up. She's done more to boost WNBA visibility and fan engagement than any marketing campaign the league has ever put together.
All she said was talking about, the refs need to protect. I'm pretty sure. Was it not for her saying the refs need to protect Caitlin Clark? I'm pretty sure that's what she essentially said. The refs need to protect Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin Clark said, finally someone did it. She basically talked about being the refs need to protect the face of the league.
The real scandal isn't Sophie Cunningham criticizing referees. It's that the WNBA would rather muzzle criticism than fix the problems everyone's talking about. Instead of addressing the officiating inconsistencies that fans, players, and coaches have been complaining about all season, they go after the person pointing them out. Instead of protecting their biggest stars from blatant targeting, they punish the players with the guts to stand up for them. Sophie Cunningham embodies everything the WNBA should be celebrating: authenticity, loyalty, courage, and the rare ability to connect with fans across every demographic. She's turned controversy into influence, fines into fortune, and criticism into credibility. Yet Cathy Engelbert's answer is to keep dipping into Sophie's bank account for the crime of having an opinion. And fans have noticed, every time Sophie posts about a fine, the response is the same overwhelming support for her honesty and growing disgust with the league's leadership.